Ebensburg Turkey Trot 5K, finished 17th overall in 1905. So a little bit lower placement wise than I was hoping for. I was hoping for, 10 to 15. I was going to be happy with that. So a few places down, but it was a huger crowd than previous years. And I don't know, I had a good performance, but I still really didn't have my A game or push the second half of the race where I could have caught a few people. So I'll take 17th overall with like a 800 to 1,000 people participating, because I wasn't going to catch the top 5 to 10 people. I knew that coming in, and I was actually going to video the course as I ran it, but GoPro battery wasn't working right. It must have been too cold, so I didn't get to do that. But I wasn't even in like the right mindset today, or I guess taking this again really that serious, just like last week, just because I knew I wasn't gonna win. So I wasn't serious coming in as I should have been, but it happens. It's only 28 degrees right now. It was probably 26, 25 when we started with wind. There's a little bit of snowflakes coming down, but nothing heavy. Definitely a cold race for this time of year, I guess. With the weather the way it's been the last couple weeks, like up and down, up and down. Yesterday it was like 45, 50 degrees, and a couple days this week it was 50. So overnight it basically dropped 30 degrees. So that really had an effect on me, not getting used to it and acclimated to the cold again. Because 26, 28 degrees in February is going to feel a lot warmer than it does now. Whatever. So I wore my visor beanie, I think my Cupid's Chase buff, my thicker long sleeve shirt. I wore my training shorts, my calf sleeves, and I actually wore my Endorphin Pro 4s today for my MP3 player, and my Blake Mints. I had a couple different other options on me, like some thinner long sleeve shirts, but it was just too cold and windy, so I went the long sleeve. It was actually pretty comfortable. Sometimes I overdress when I use that, and it get too hot when I'm running red lined, but today it was, I would say, comfortable. So that was awesome. So I didn't really overheat at all, but then again, second half of the race where I would have felt that overheatness, I wasn't pushing that envelope at all. But it definitely was a huge crowd. We were crammed in a little bit at the start line, and I will say this, I was kind of annoyed at the start line because some woman with that big of a crowd, she had her dog like third row, fourth row deep into the race, of like 800 to 1,000 people. Like, you're up front and you're in like the top 30. Like, what are you doing? Like, people said they tripped over it, and the dog was like licking the back of my legs at the start line. I'm like, oh my God, I was like, I don't care how fast you are. I don't care if you're Kipchoge or Des Linden, but you don't run with a dog that close to the start line at the beginning of a race. I don't care who it was. I don't know who she was, but it's just, I want to say ignorant. I don't care if you can drop 5-minute miles, 4-minute miles. It's one of those courtesy things, because once you start, people have to go around the dog and not trip on it to start the race. So it was just a stupid move, and I have to complain about that because it did irritate me, and some other people said the same thing. It's just inconsiderate. It's like having like 30 kids line up at the beginning of like a marathon, like a Boston qualifying marathon. You just don't do that. So with that being said, that was my only real complaint of the race. So then once we start, there's like a nice, maybe like, we'll say 50-ish yards, if that, like flat or slight incline before it goes like a steeper decline. And I'll tell you what, that decline right away just killed me. Like, my legs felt so horrible, like I was gonna trip, and they just felt like logs. I think it's because standing at the start line for a minute or two, just like in the cold, it just like you really weren't warmed up enough. And I see other people like they were like their legs were all wobbly, doing like little funky, like after a marathon, that little bow-leggedness going down. It just felt so rough. I talked to a couple other people, and they felt the same way. Like they just felt like they were gonna trip running down that. It was just weird. I don't remember that before, and I was even running on my forefoot, so it just didn't make sense. But I know the course, so I knew it was there to start the race. Leveled out, and then we went up the hill. I was probably 40 at some point. Just roughly. I would say deep into the 30s or 40. A couple tenths into the race. But then as soon as that hill starts, like after the first left, I just started picking people off. Just running at a controlled pace. Like I wasn't pushing. I wasn't redlining or going hard. I don't even know what my pace was. I think first mile was like 5:51. But I think a lot of that had to do with the downhill, the start. Probably went way too fast. But I just started picking people off on the hill because they just burnt themselves out, which I knew that was going to happen because that happens every year. People want to get all excited and take off, and then it's just like they're not seasoned runners where they know better to control themselves. They just go out hard from the start and burn up. So I started picking people off. And basically the first half of the race, I was picking people off on the uphill, running pretty comfortably, not pushing. Might have been the cold air too, giving me that little extra speed boost. Yeah. Then it started to thin out pretty good when I was into the I don't know. I want to say probably once I hit 20, or maybe 16. I think once I was at like 16th at one point, and I was going around that little circular, squared, like housing area. It's at the very top of the hill, like the farthest point away from the race. That was probably about like 1:07, 1:08 into the race, wherever that's at. Like that was like the last time I passed anybody, and I was in 16th there because I finished 17th. So I know, because I only got passed by one person at like 2:07, 2:08 into the race. But I really didn't care at that point. I always saw like the next pack ahead of me, probably 15 seconds ahead of me. I just had no desire to push that hard to go catch them. And I just sort of grooved into the zone a little bit and held back, because I sort of knew where I stood. If I would have caught that pack, I would have hit my top 15 placement goal, but it really wasn't worth the effort today, blowing up into the cold, having my lungs burn up. So I just stayed within myself. But they were always just that 10-15 seconds ahead of me, and I could see them, I would say 80-85% of the race, that next little group. They must have spaced out a little bit after like the 2.5 mark. But like that first half of the race, I could see them that whole time. Yeah, once we got around that housing development, I was in 16th, got past about 2:07, 2:08 into the race making me 17th. And I just sort of cruised in from there to the finish line. Not really pushing and just pulling back, because I did look back a few times. There was a couple people close by, but I wouldn't have been upset if they passed me. I think I was like second Masters and second in my age group, because first place was first Masters as well. So like second in 40 to 44 age group, but I was also second Masters, if that makes sense. And me and my buddy, who's 43, we were 1-2 in our age group and Masters, if that makes sense. But yeah, I got a tub of ice cream instead of beer since I don't drink. I snagged a couple of little cream cheeses, and a couple of like nuts with chocolate. Take home with me. But for awards they do ice cream. I think it's Valwood Farms, but they had all kinds of beer, like IPAs and stuff like that. If you're into that, again, I don't drink, so I don't take it. Even though I did give it away the one year. This, I guess, was the biggest crowd they've had for the race. At least the last few years. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if it's a record or not. Even though there was like the 800 to 1,000 people, it really didn't seem like it. So I have to check the results. It almost seemed like there was only like 500, but maybe just because people were spaced out and then they just ran and left. And even at registration, I think it didn't seem like there was a lot of people because they had packet pickup earlier in the week, a couple of days up and running here in Ebensburg. Shout out to them, who I think is in charge of the race. So that took away a lot of like the registration commotion, jumble, whatever you want to call it, from race day. So people just like showed up closer to the race start. But I wanted to get up here a little bit early since I didn't pick up my packet, and I wanted to get a little sneaky parking spot where I wanted to hopefully get in close to the race so I could just jump in and change real quick, which I did. I didn't have any GI issues today. I did pee before the race. I don't know if I pooped. I think I pooped this morning before I left. But for breakfast, I just had a Nugo bar and an out-of-date Honey Stinger wafer from September. I think it was like 25th. It expired, but it was still good, at least for now. I had some Zero Powerade on the way up. I think I had a couple, like 4 or 5 those peanut butter filled pretzels to get some salt as well. But maybe because I didn't push, I didn't get any GI effects, but who knows. I think last time I did this race it was like 1922 or something like that, in 22, but I was also videoing that year as I ran, so that probably did slow me down. But I'd have to go back and look at that recap or some other previous well, just in my records in general to see if this is the fastest I ran it. But it is closer to a 13.2 race. I think I got 13.18, so it's a little longer. Probably like 0.05, 0.06 longer, even if you use all the tangents. But it's kind of hard to tell because you go from side to side of the road a lot, because they have cones. They actually have like cones, I would say most of the race. Like, so you have like a dedicated lane because the roads aren't completely closed, but there's really no traffic this time of day up in Ebensburg, so you really don't have to worry about it. And they also had arrows on the ground and tons of volunteers, so you couldn't get lost. I mean, even if there was only like 20 people that showed up, you couldn't get lost with the arrows, the cones, and the volunteers. So that's really nice. I don't know, I think I zoned out pretty good during the race, because it just seemed to go by quickly, so must not have been thinking about much or just overdoing it. It was just pretty straightforward, I guess. But again, I'd done this a couple of times. I don't know how many, maybe 3 or 4. So I sort of knew what to expect. I knew what the competition was going to do. They always go out, most people go out way too fast, and then as soon as that hill starts, it's easy to catch up with most people, except for the top tier runners. They run pretty strong, like Bryce and them, AJ, those type of guys. They run strong the whole time. But other than that, oh, here's the shirt. Let me see, show you guys the shirt. I like it. It's like classic. It's got the classic look to it. Go home and eat some ham sandies. So, happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody has a good day.